Good afternoon, everybody. This is Stephen Brandon coming live from South Texas Tack, Brenham, Texas. I want to take a little time and answer some questions we get every day here at the store, whether it's in person, online, or by phone, of their saddle pad setup and selection. There's so many pads out there. Brandon and I felt like we need to take some time and kind of give you some go-to ideas on maybe narrow it down a little bit for you.
So there's so many options between blanket top, felt top, different materials, contour, non-contour. We just kind of want to walk through what we have as a selection and kind of what we suggest, what we've seen work well. So to start us off, a popular one that we're seeing used a lot lately is the one-piece felt that has a fleece bottom on it. It has a contour top, which Stephen talked a little bit more about. There's a lot of different options here. Some have more contour, less contour. But if anything, we just suggest going the contour.
Any contour. At the end of the day, from whatever the takeaway is from here, is any contour is better than no contour. Just remember that. So these contour, this is a two-piece contour pad that's sewn down to the spine. It's two functions. You have your contour function and your weather relief. So be mindful of the pads you have or the pads you're going to purchase in the future of the pattern, as Brandon just talked about. So next time you go to the barn, saddle your horses, stand back and get a good profile of that horse and kind of see what you're dealing with. So I've not yet, we do saddle fits every day here at South Texas Tack, I've not yet seen a pad offer too much relief. This particular pad is a tremendous pattern, has a lot of weather relief. And you'll notice when you get into some of the pads that maybe are built by people that don't own a horse, that they're basically look like a contour, but they're flat top and they just don't really have any true benefit.
Sure.
So be mindful of the pattern.
So what are some other options? If a guy doesn't want a felt top, maybe they want more of a show pad, more blanket top pad.
That's a great question. We get a lot of people in that just want to have one pad, one setup, do the same thing. So what we have here is a blanket top with a contour pad. Actually, the blanket top itself is sewn in a contour function to where the symmetry is awesome. So this is actually a great setup. It has a 3/4 inch pad with a 1/4 inch blanket on top, which is really kind of your max, which is a 1 inch. And we here at South Texas Tack feel like 1 inch is plenty. If you're not going to rope, you're not ranching 3/4, it's really all you need. But if you're going to rope, you're going to ranch 1 inch is really all you need.
Because there's kind of that old school thought that more pad is better. And okay, my saddle's not fitting right, I need more pad. But what you're saying is actually if you have a good fitting saddle, less pad can be better.
Exactly.
That close contact.
Yeah, the solution actually can be a new setup, a new saddle, not the pad.
Sure.
What the pad can do is if the setup is incorrect, and actually deleverage your current setup. So it's never really going to take a B saddle fit to an A, but it can sure take an A to a B if you're doing it wrong.
Sure.
So be mindful. So this is what we call a blanket top contour, really popular, and for somebody that just wants a little more color.
So with that pad, Steve, you talked about how the blanket and the pad are actually cut at the same pattern. Now, you see a lot of guys, especially more in a rope and ranch world, that they're using more of a blanket top that has that straight top on it, but they're using a pad that has the contour cut on it. So what's the difference between that and what you just showed us?
Well, it's really counterproductive. So this would actually go on top instead of on the bottom, and that's the first thing I want to point out. And then if you do put this on the top, it's not contour, so it's not going to actually sit down, it's going to pucker. If you throw that up here on top, Brandon, you can see if you'd actually do it, it's going to pucker here, and that displacement is going to cause a problem. It's going to cause your saddle really right here in the throat, not to sit down, so that's a problem. What we see is everybody doing this, we put this on top. So what happens now is, you feel like you're doing more for your horse, you've actually done a lot less for your horse. So you're actually too thick, you're going to lose your contour function, and you're definitely going to lose your weather relief. So the whole setup's counterproductive. So we encourage people here at South Texas Tack, go home, get your saddles right or close enough, and get rid of the blanket on the bottom and try it. And rule of thumb is if you can feel your horse's feet, they can feel your seat. The whole experience is a lot better. You're going to be more in an offensive posture instead of defensive. You're going to get a lot more out of your horse, and the whole experience is going to be better.
Sure, that's awesome.
So this is a real traditional setup. We just encourage people to break their tradition and try something new. Here's another, while we're on that topic, Brandon, here's one. It's a true Casazilla. It's a pad that's a tradition from Mexico. Great quality. They've been around forever. Hand sewn, wear leathers, laced. Really a cool pad. I know it's hard for people to leave these at home because they're so cool, they're so traditional. But really at the end of the day, if you're just in love with these, just use 1 or 2 of these with nothing else, because if you put something on top of it, you're really going to have some problems. But we can see why people have a hard time leaving these in the barn and not putting them on the horse. But at the end of the day, they can be counterproductive.
So if someone, they like the contoured pad, they want to try a pad, what are some material options? Like that one you just showed us had a felt bottom, but what else is out there?
Well, the two things really that are offered in today's market is we're going to have what we call a merino wool bottom, which is real non-abrasive, which is really nice for the horse, real natural. It wicks moisture really good, really well, really quick. And in our part of the world down here, when it gets hot, the humidity's so intense that they might not dry out quick enough. Where you get into, these will dry out quick enough. When you get into a felt bottom, they have a tendency not to dry out quick enough. This setup is going to be a little more rigid where we don't feel like it sets down and conforms quite as well. And they just don't dry out as good. It's a great option. We have a lot of people like them. Somebody asked us, and we put our hands on one for them, we're going to pull out a fleece bottom. It's an option we like here at South Texas Tack. One other thing Brandon and I want to touch on is all these pads we've pulled out so far have two options as far as the liner. Every one of these pads has some technology in them, and really the standard is a three-quarter inch insert. This particular company and all the other companies have come out with a half-inch insert, which really gives you a total three-quarter inch width, which we really feel like is great. Even if you're going to rope and you're going to ranch, you're working hard all day long, if your saddle's right, this is all you need. So on the saddle fits we do here at the store every day, I cannot remember, Brandon, the last time I did a saddle fit when somebody's saddle was too wide or they didn't have enough pad. Saddles are always too narrow and they've got too much pad, completely opposite. So, you know, the Indians had a ride 150 years ago. They're riding a bareback. That's close contact. So we want to be as close as we can with the saddle, the tree, and the pad, and don't deleverage your setup.
Sure.
Really important.
Sure. So one other material that you don't see as much as a neoprene bottom, and this is something that it probably doesn't have the wicking abilities that maybe a fleece or a wool does, but it's so easy to clean for a guy that's gonna be riding every day. Just hose it off, go again tomorrow.
Real functional. You'll see people when they use these, they'll go back to the two-pad system. We talked about that earlier. It's not really a recommendation here at South Texas Tack. The one thing you want to be mindful of if you're a die-hard neoprene saddle pad fan is your horse thin-skinned? And the way to determine a thin-skinned horse, in the winter they won't grow a lot of hair. This time of year, just shed off, you can almost see through their hair coat. They have a real translucent hair coat. So be mindful. If you know or think you have a horse that's thin-skinned, neoprene on the back is not a good idea. You can get away with it on the cinch. It's not a good idea on the back. Friction causes heat causes soreness, and you know what soreness does. So, great pad, great quality. Something else we want to point out, Brandon and I want to point out here at South Texas Tack, the pad market and business in the last 10 years has really evolved. There's some great options, some great companies doing some great work. And we are actually offering just some suggestions, and they're simply suggestions. Some go-to choices for us that we know work for us every day as we do our saddle fits. We see a world of variety of horses and saddles outside of what we do here, and they're simply just recommendations.
That's right. Yeah. What it all comes down to is your horse and you, and what do you prefer? What works well? What events are you in? But these are just some things that we've seen work really well. And like Steve mentioned, there are just so many good brands out there right now. So many good technologies out there. If anything, though, we just believe in good fit.
And we carry them all. You can buy every one of them from us at South Texas Tack. I think some of them just serve a better purpose on certain setups. We'd love to see you and your horse. It's really the way to turn that C or B fit into an A or an A+. But we can help you either on the phone, online. Feel free to email us. You can email Brandon at South Texas Tack or Steve at South Texas Tack. You can call us at 979-421-8800. Or we'd love to see you in person. Appreciate y'all stopping in. Thank you.
Thanks.